The Cherokee Indians teach that the trees are wiser than us, and that's why they remain silent. So let's pause for a moment of silence before this service begins. Come, let us worship together.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our great covenant.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl who was very, very sick. She had a terrible, horrible disease for which there was no cure. But she also had friends. One of her friends was a doctor. And her friend said, I'm going to go to my medical laboratory and I'm going to do a bunch of experiments until I find a cure. And so she went off in her laboratory and she did research for weeks and weeks and weeks. She had another friend who was a minister who said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to my church and I'm going to pray for a cure. And she went off to her church and she prayed for weeks and weeks and weeks. She had another friend who was a wizard. And the wizard said, I'm going to look through my books of spells and I'm going to find a spell or an incantation or something I can say that will be the cure to your disease. And he went off and he did his spells and he looked in all his books and he did this for weeks and weeks and weeks. And in that time when people were searching for the cure, the little girl was in her room by herself, very lonely. But one day, all the friends decided to get together, and it was a Zoom call. And they were visiting, and the doctor said, you know, I'm really sad. I spent a lot of time doing research, looking for a cure, but I wasn't able to find a cure. And the minister said, you know, I spent a lot of time in my church praying for you to be well, but it's sad to say we were not able to find a cure. And the wizard said, you know, I looked at all my books of spells and I did lots of incantations, but I'm sorry I could not find a way to get you well. And the little girl said, you know, I appreciate all your efforts, but I've decided even though this disease I have is terrible, I think the most terrible disease of all, the most horrible disease of all is loneliness. And the medicine I need now is your friendship. And the magic I need now is your love. And the prayer I need is for you to simply be with me. And so the friends spent time together, simply being with each other. And as they visited, it is said they found the cure.
Ritual. Maya Angelou speaks of ritual. But when do you use ritual? When do you need ritual? Million Man March. The night has been long. The wound has been deep. The pit has been dark, and the walls have been asleep. Under a dead blue sky on a distant beach, I was dragged by my braids just beyond your reach. You couldn't even call out my name. You were helpless, and so was I. But unfortunately, through history, you've worn a badge of shame. I say, the night has been long, the wound has been deep, the pit has been dark, and the walls have been asleep. But today, voices of old spirit sound, speak to us in words profound, across years, across the centuries, across the oceans, and across the seas. They say, draw near to one another, save your race. You have been paid for in a distant place. The old ones remind us that slavery chains have paid for our freedom again and again. The night has been long, the pit has been deep, the night has been dark, and these walls have been asleep. The hells we have lived through and live through still have sharpened our senses and toughened our will. The night has been long. The morning I looked through your anguish, right down to your soul. I know with each other we can make ourselves whole. I looked through the posture and past your disguises, and I see your love for family and in your big brown eyes. I say, clap your hands and let's come together in this meeting ground. I say, clap hands and let's deal with each other with love. I say, clap hands and let us get from the low road of indifference. Clap hands and let us come together and reveal our hearts. Let us come together and revise our spirit. Let us come together and cleanse our souls. Clap hands and let's leave the preening and stop posturing our own history. Clap hands. Call the spirit back from the ledge. Clap hands and let us invite joy into our conversation, courtesy into our bedrooms, gentleness into our kitchen, care into our nursery. The ancestors remind us, despite the history of pain, we are a going-on people who will rise again, and still we rise. Joys, and I say joys, and concerns. Well, to be honest, nothing much has come in this week. So I hope if you are struggling at home or have a sadness and you want to share it, please let me know. Let the spiritual care team know. Please do not be alone. But the joy, I know I'm dancing. I never thought the Supreme Court would come out on the side of saying, we are all citizens. We are all equal. We are one, and no one should be discriminated against in our country. So that's my joy. And I also have a joy that we survived these past 3 weeks, horror after horror, incredible scenes of dismay, and yet scenes of joy, that we stood together as Americans, Black, white, Asian, Spanish. It didn't matter, LGBTQ, transgender, and especially transgender women who are of color stood firmly, stood tall, despite the fact 2 were killed last week. Joy. I see America. I see our country. I see our faiths. I see our different outlooks. I see joy.
Thank you for joining us this morning at TVUUC. My name is Claudia Presley, and I'm the Director of Administration here. Today, our offering will be going to the Tennessee Healthcare Campaign and also to the operating budget of TVUUC. So this is a Share the Plate Sunday. Any contribution that comes in that is not marked as a pledge will be split between the Tennessee Healthcare Campaign and the church's operating budget. We encourage you to give generously if you are able to. You can give by going to tvuuc.org/give, or you can text give to the number 73256, type in TVUUC and the amount. Once again, thanks for joining us. Have a great day.
Within me now is guidance for today, and wisdom comes with light to lead the way, and I follow where my highest truth resides, and safely living there I will abide. Within me now I ride the wave of peace, and steady streams of blissful joy increase. I bathe in all the love God has for me, and in His arms I feel all cares release. Within me now my eyes are clear to see, and angels guide me to my destiny. My dreams of greatness rise to live in me, and I embrace it all with harmony. Within me now I have the wings to fly, and high above I see infinite sky, and I soar to where all knowing does unfold, and all my clouds of darkness turn to gold. Within me now, within me now, within me now.
When I was a kid, my dad would read to me. One of my favorite books that he read to me was The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. And I love that mythical world of dragons and dwarves and elves and hobbits. I love that world of imagination. So you think I would be in a pretty good position to be a competitor on an internet quiz I saw the other day, where you were given a long list of names and you were invited to guess which one was a Tolkien character and which one was an antidepressant. So I'm going to give that list of names to you to see if you can guess which is which. Ozaphin, Virgil, Cerdon, Cledial, Desril, Edronax, Elendil, Elranon, Aristor, Escalith, Finarfin, Haldir, Minalcar, Nardil, Narmasil, Narva, Orifin, and Prothead. Can you guess which is which? Even though I've read those books many different times, I flunked the test. And while that test may tell you nothing about fantasy fiction, it does tell you that there are a lot of antidepressants out there. Indeed, every time I go onto the internet or I turn on the TV or I open a magazine, there are many, many advertisements for pharmaceutical products. And in Western culture, we often think of medicine equals pharmaceutical product. It seems like there's a pill for every problem, and medicine means a pill of some kind. But this is not the way Native Americans use that word medicine. Indeed, the indigenous people of this continent mean something much bigger and broader whenever they use the term good medicine. The statue behind me commemorates the Treaty of the Holston, signed in 1791, which reads, "There shall be perpetual peace and friendship between the citizens of the United States of America and the individuals comprising the whole Cherokee Nation of Indians." The statue is a reminder that the United States government does not always keep its promises. The Cherokee refer to their own traditional teachings as the good medicine way. And good medicine in this sense means more than just filling a prescription that you can take to a pharmacy. Good medicine is about how we live our whole lives. Good medicine is about the way we treat each other. Good medicine is about how we build community together. Good medicine is about our attitudes and our insights into the human condition. Good medicine is about our relationship not only to each other as human beings, but to all creatures, the two-legged, the four-legged, and the winged. Good medicine is about how we can bring peace and harmony to the world by restoring balance. Good medicine might involve simply practicing gratitude and saying thanks and being thankful when we wake up in the morning. Good medicine is remembering that all things are connected, that we can't harm another person without harming ourselves, that we cannot hurt the earth without harming ourselves. Good medicine is about how we show respect to each other. Good medicine is about not storing up our treasures on earth, not becoming possessive and grabby. Good medicine is about practicing silence and honoring other people's silence, respecting people's need for quiet and stillness in their lives, knowing that the wisest words come from that source of silence within us. Good medicine is about how we listen to each other before we act. Good medicine is about treating the earth as our mother, honoring her as an elder, showing her respect by cleaning the water and keeping clean air and doing efforts to take care of our mother. In other words, good medicine means more than picking up a prescription that we take to a pharmacy. Now, a pill might be a good form of medicine. It might be good medicine with a little g and a little m. But good medicine with a capital G and a capital M is about how we live our lives and whether or not we keep our promises. The Apostle Paul once wrote, "Welcome the stranger, for by so doing you may be entertaining angels unaware." Of course, the Apostle Paul was not known for being so welcoming to GLBT people, so he had something to learn from his own inner wisdom. In the Unitarian Universalist Church, we believe in welcoming wisdom from many different sources, including earth-centered traditions, which remind us to honor the sacred circle of life and respect the rhythms of nature in which we participate. This week, there was a historic decision made by the Supreme Court reaffirming federal civil rights for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people. So, happy Pride, y'all. Happy Pride. Or as Jametta Austin would say, joy. This is a time of celebration, and our church has a long historic commitment to equal rights for all people. You may not know it, but in 2015, after another Supreme Court decision, we hosted the first legal same-sex marriage in our sanctuary. Before that, we held illegal ones there. So we have a long tradition of affirming equal rights for all people. But what you may not know is before white people ever got here and before there was a Supreme Court, there was a lot of respect for the many different ways to be human among indigenous people. And in many ways, homophobia and transphobia are symptoms of what shamans might call white man's disease. Now, what is white man's disease? Let's borrow language from pharmaceutical advertising and say, symptoms might include the need to dominate and control other people, the desire to hoard, to accumulate more possessions than you can possibly use, the tendency to deify things and objectify people, to hurt other people and to hurt the earth under the mistaken illusion that somehow this might benefit myself. The tendency to talk and interrupt rather than sit in silence and wait for wisdom to emerge from stillness. The need to stay busy all the time instead of in a way that outruns that inner wisdom, instead of staying still and quiet and being in touch with our inner wisdom. The tendency to solve problems quickly and through force rather than through patience and persuasion. Earlier, a few weeks back, I heard on the radio that if you're shopping for groceries during the pandemic, that you should avoid the loud aisle, because where people are talking loudly, that's where the virus is spreading. And the Native American elders would reaffirm this. Avoid the loud aisle and go to the quiet and still aisle. That is the healthy place to be in a pandemic. It's a healthy place to be where there is stillness and quiet. White man's disease can infect even the most benevolent organizations, including the liberal Protestant tradition of which Unitarian Universalism emerges. There was a Native American shaman who once said that liberal Protestants believe in establishing the kingdom of God on earth in which they will be prominent members. So there's still sometimes a little bit of ego mixed in our good works theology. So the symptoms of white man's disease might be possessed by any person of any color, of any culture, but there's a reason, historic reasons, why it has that name, white man's disease. You may not know this, but as the Black Lives Matter, there have been demonstrations all over the world. There's also a Red Lives Matter movement to honor the rights of indigenous people and to work for justice for indigenous people. And I mention this to say that when we say Black Lives Matter, or when we say Red Lives Matter, or when we say Happy Pride, y'all, we're not just making a political statement. We are practicing good medicine. The Cherokee and other indigenous people do not make a hard and fast distinction between the body and the spirit. And so good medicine is treating other people with respect. And good medicine in our time might involve wearing a face mask, or washing our hands, or keeping our social distance. Good medicine might involve reducing our carbon footprint, addressing our rampant consumerism, or our workaholism. Good medicine might involve showing and demonstrating that Black Lives Matter and Red Lives Matter, celebrating pride, is good medicine. Possibly because I grew up with my dad reading me the Lord of the Rings stories, I became something of an Anglophile. and I discovered the short stories of P.G. Wodehouse, stories that make me laugh, and I am not the only one. Jay McInerney, who wrote some very serious novels like Bright Lights, Big City, had this to say about P.G. Wodehouse. He wrote, "I was clinically depressed for most of 1999 and would turn to Wodehouse, possibly the funniest writer in the English language, for warding off my despair. It seemed to be more effective than any of the antidepressants I was taking." Now, maybe it's P.G. Wodehouse, or maybe it's J.R.R. Tolkien, or some other author, or some other artist, or some other activity that helps lift your spirits. But it's important to build into our lives good medicine. Friedrich Nietzsche said, "Without music, life would be a mistake." And I would add that without laughter, life would be a mistake. Without imagination, life would be a mistake. Without mythology, life would be a mistake. Without dragons and dwarves and elves and hobbits, life would be a mistake. Without creativity, life would be a mistake. Without Virgil and Minalcar and Finarfar. These are just some of the Lord of the Rings characters I actually got right on that quiz. Without these, life would be a mistake. So let's hold on to the things that lift our spirit. Let's hold on to the things that give us hope. Let's hold on to things that help sustain us in difficult times, because when we do this, we're not only practicing good coping mechanisms, we're doing something bigger and broader than that. We're practicing good medicine. Prophetic Church, the world awaits your liberating ministry. Always dwell in the power of love and proclaim the truth that makes us free.
The ritual of companionship is a cure for all of us to be with people we love, to be with people that we laugh with, the people that we share joy with. Turn and greet your neighbor, whether you do it by a phone call later today, a telephone message, an email, a text. All I've got to say is greet your neighbor. Goodbye, and have a grateful and joyful and fun week.